Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Luke from Guild Umbra. Just doing a few little final touch-ups before we start this stream. Making sure the stream looks as best as it can. Again, my upload speed isn't the greatest, so but that's why we're doing this out of game and not in game. As the title suggests, we're going to talk a little bit about the new patch that just dropped recently, today, matter of fact. And, you know, kind of touch base on some of the things I found interesting, some changes that may be coming soon to the Warrior Medic and Esper. Esper's the class that I've been rolling currently from launch, so that's probably the one I will focus on the most. However, if you are one of those characters, Warrior or Medic, please check them out. Some of the changes can be found right here on Wildstar, just the Twitter. You can come down here and you'll see the links for the Warrior and for the Medic and the Esper. Okay, so a couple little things to talk about. As I stated, they just dropped a patch, so there is a lot of interesting changes, to say the least. Couple controversial changes that people probably have a little problems with, and I'm kind of on the fence with it still, because I haven't even had a chance to get in game yet and run some of the adventures and dungeons and whatnot to see how the changes have been affected. But first and foremost, for the Esper, the biggest change that took place recently is they finally seem like they fixed Crush. Okay, I was having a lot of problems with my pre-made group, 5-mans, who were running dungeons, veteran dungeons, and whatnot, not being useful at all using Crush on certain enemies who were on a different elevation than me, or maybe multiple enemies, and I wanted to interrupt the guy in the back, and it didn't interrupt the guy in the back at all, even though he was in my telegraph. So it appears that I did a little bit of dungeon running last night. It appears that Crush has been fixed. It remains to be seen. But anyway, that's the big change with the Esper, as far as in the patch notes. Couple neat, interesting things to make you aware of. As you can see here, they're talking about the rewards in normal mode have changed a little bit. It used to be when you ran these dungeons, you'd only, and you down the boss, you'd only get 1 item. It appears that they're going to 2 items now in normal mode, which is kind of nice, kind of cool. A lot of these bosses have high loot tables. We're talking 10 to 15 maybe drops. I might be a little bit off on that. So you don't want to be running, if you're anything like me, you don't want to be running the same dungeon 20 times just to get the 1 item that appears to be mysteriously never dropped. Okay, so that might help a little bit with some of the complaints I've seen on the forums and whatnot. That'll help a lot. You'll also note that dungeons and adventures no longer have unique rewards on bronze, silver, and gold. Now let's talk about this for a second. It used to be, I'm going to go to another website here that I have pulled up already, and we're just going to use Crime Lords of Whiteville. This is Wildstar Loot, and as you can see, this is the miscellaneous loot table for this one adventure. And as you can tell, there's a shit ton of items here that can drop, and it's very RNG related. And you'll notice also that there's a gold medal reward for the adventure. Now this is what a lot of my guildies were doing. Me myself, I know my pre-made 5-man group was running adventures over and over and over and over, trying to find particular pieces of gear for people in our group, you know, and this is very, very strong gear. You know, a lot of the people who are raiding right now didn't even go that route. They didn't. didn't even, care about the gold too much. They just wanted to get their silver medal to get attuned and get right into raiding. However, where this affects in the patch notes is that there's no more metal standing. Okay. And what I mean by that is, like, you can still get medals in dungeons, okay? But the rewards you got from the medals before, like, you would have to get a gold medal to get an epic purple item, okay? And if you didn't get it, then you were seeing a lot of what I was seeing a lot of personally before I got into my pre-made five-man group was that, maybe 2 or 3 of my guildies would run in a pug group and say we didn't do one of the objectives, so we're no longer in gold medal status. Everybody would drop group, everybody would leave, and it was somewhat frustrating for new players, I'm assuming, and even people like us who were in guilds, big guilds at that. So it's one of those things that they wanted to stop that problem from occurring, and I get that. So now what do? You still have medals that are in dungeons and adventures, it appears. However, it'll be one of those things where not only do you get higher money rewards, as you can see here, for no medal 100% money reward, which you would normally get. Bronze medal, you get 150% money reward. Silver medal 200%, and gold medal 250% money rewards. So it increases the amount of money that your group gains. So there's incentive there still to try to get these gold medals, do all the objectives, optionals, challenges, so you can get some more money. But the other kind of interesting, neat, some people won't like, again, I'm kind of on the fence with this, is that, as you can tell here, there's a reward structure, okay? You saw the loot table earlier that I went and looked at. So let's say you get a no medal, alright? You get 1 roll on that final boss table, which I'm assuming is all the purples. Whereas if you get a bronze, you get 1 roll on the final boss table, which is all the purples. You get 1 roll on all the instance-wide loot table, which was all of these frickin' blue items, okay? All of them. I mean, that's a big loot table, okay? Assuming the loot table is accurate. Alright, same thing with silver medal. You get 1 more roll on final boss loot table. But when you get a silver medal, you get 2 rolls on the instance-wide loot table, which is more blues. Gold medal is 1 roll on the final boss table and 3 rolls on an instance-wide loot table. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of this. Okay. On one side of the equation, you have people who, put in a lot of effort into these dungeons, and pre-made groups put in a lot of effort into these dungeons and doing things the way Wildstar intended them to do them. Okay. And they're still getting 1 roll, okay, 1 epic, probable, most likely, if they get a gold. But they're also getting 3 more rolls on blue items. Well, in the current state where I'm at with my group, blue items, they're not really what I'm looking for. However, a new player coming into an adventure in a dungeon might see this as a good opportunity to gear up better. Okay. So this would benefit them better, in my opinion, than the people who have been doing adventures in dungeons for a while now. And they have, for the most part, a lot of their gear that they need already. Okay. Now I want to talk about adventures to dungeons, okay? Because in my experience so far, I have found very little loot worthwhile in dungeons, okay? And I don't know if that's because we've only really gotten silvers in them, we haven't gotten golds because it's pretty damn difficult to get a gold in dungeons in the first place. Hell, it's hard to get a silver in dungeons in the first place. Um, so I haven't really seen a whole lot of loot drop. So maybe this will give us a better opportunity to get better loot, better blues, possibly. Um, items, to upgrade our group. I don't know. Well, it remains to be seen. Um, but so far, there's still a lot of complaining. A lot of people like the older system better, which, in my opinion, was okay. But I see the whole picture, and I'm trying to look at it, the whole picture. And the problem was people were dropping groups far too fast, which makes people who want to experience and want to put in the time in game to have very bad experiences and quit the game for that matter. So it's just one of those things. I think it's going in the right direction now. I think they're going to obviously have to make some more changes though in the near future to kind of make both sides a little happier, if that makes sense. So, but that basically covers what I was kind of wanting to talk about with the patch notes. There's a few other changes that I know from a stalker standpoint. We do have a stalker in our pre-made group. He likes the impale change that came about, but he doesn't like the shred change. Okay, and I'm kind of there with him. Again, I haven't really rolled any other classes other than Esper at this point, so I'll try not to really go into those too much. I'll leave that for more talented and more experienced players with those classes. Okay, but that was just a general overview about the patch notes. Again, this is not all the patch notes. There's obviously some more from yesterday that I haven't covered. Okay, but I just wanted to cover today's patch notes. Let me get some tea here. Alright, so changes coming soon to the Esper. I really like them. I really am excited about them. Again, I talked about earlier about Crush being somewhat fixed so far. I think they're still trying to address a few bugs animation-wise and whatnot. It used to be this big fist that came down and just like smacked your enemies, and it was kind of cool. But that currently isn't working properly. But I'm just happy it's working all together. Okay, that's a very big interrupt for us Espers. There was a bug with Soothe where the telegraph would get stuck, and you'd be casting other telegraphs or spells for that matter, and you'd still see that line telegraph going out from you that Soothe has, and it was sort of annoying, to be perfectly honest. So again, they are working on that. They're getting that fixed. But some of the changes that I really want to talk about is in the DPS Esper. Okay. Now, I will tell you from personal experience, DPSing with the Esper and making yourself optimal as compared to other classes is very, very difficult. Okay, I've done all the theory crafting I can possibly do with the DPS Esper. I've done all the research that I can possibly do, and it's quite simply not enough. Okay, in comparison to a medic, in comparison to any of the other classes. A stalker blows me away. A warrior blows me away in DPS. A engineer just face rolls the keyboard and blows everyone away. Okay, so and that's kind of why I've went to healing a lot more lately than DPS, because I don't feel that I am useful as a DPS Esper. Now, some of the guys in my group might disagree with me, and I appreciate that. But again, it's one of those things that if you just look at the numbers, you go to Wildstar logs, you go to any of those sites that are compiling data, you will very much see that the DPS Esper is at the bottom of the table. On a lot of fights, They have the possibility to move up a little bit. But again, it's an issue. In Wildstar, you have telegraphs. You have movement to get out of the telegraphs. And when you have a class that is centered around standing still to do their damage, that's a problem. You have to be very, very, in the current state, you have to be very, very careful about using your innate because it roots you. And that's a problem because you can die quickly. I mean, you can dash, obviously, but you have 2 chances to dash. Not very good. And when you get hit by telegraphs, wearing light armor, and the spell slingers can relate to this, you die quickly. A lot of times. So anyway, some of the changes, okay? They're taking our innate spectral form and making it castable while moving, which is a big deal. That root I was just talking about kills me a lot. If I use it in the wrong part of the fight, it roots me. I can't move. I can dash, but that's about it. And I need to have this innate to do my burst damage, to generate side points. So I'm very happy about that change that's coming. Next, Telekinetic Strike is also becoming castable while moving. The tier 8 bonus, the side charge stacks went down from 6 to 3. And that's a pretty good increase to our damage as well. At one point I was taking the tier 8 Telekinetic Strike off completely because I did not think it was worth 5 ability points. Okay? Because I had to cast Telekinetic Strike somewhere around 6 times just to get my extra side point. Which, when you're standing still, again, is a problem. So I'm happy about the changes to that. A couple other changes, Concentrated Blade. It's a charge ability. You start with 2 charges, and you have a telegraph, so you do have to kind of line up on the target and let them loose. And it charges. It used to be that it was about 4.4 seconds. I think it was more than that, actually. No, that's right. For the time that you channeled the blade for it to hit the target. Now it's going down to 3.4. And that's at tier 4, and it can go further up. One thing that kind of excites me about this is that at one point I was seriously thinking about taking Concentrated Blades off my bar altogether and going with Spectral Swarm instead. But what stopped me from doing that is the global cooldown. Whereas Concentrated Blades doesn't have a global cooldown, I can cast it anytime I choose. And it won't mess up my rotation, and I won't have to wait. But the tier 4, this is what I'm excited about. Tier 4 bonus will be changed to refund 2 charges per 10 seconds. Which is a big deal, because it used to be, I think, 1 charge for 10 seconds. So that's a good change. I think that will up our DPS a good bit. A little bit. Again, the tier upgrades for Concentrated Blades are kind of crappy at this point. And so I'm not quite sure where I'd have to go back and do some through crafting at WS Base to see where I could fit that in without losing something else. Okay, Blade Dance, I still think it's crap. I don't care that the channel time will be reduced to 2 seconds, down from 3 seconds. I still think the ability is crap. I'm not sure, just trying to give positive feedback. I'm not sure where they can go back and make that a usable ability. Used it once and twice in PvP, but as far as PvE environments, very rarely. Just everything else seems to do more damage and doesn't allow me to channel, which is a problem. Because what it is you have a channel and you have casting, and you can't cast while channeling. So it's kind of a catch-22 that, when you have a channeled spell that does less damage than the casting spells that you can cast, it just makes logical sense to me that I'd be rather casting than channeling. Um, couple other things. Psychic Frenzy. This was another like sort of melee ability, and it did have a global cooldown on the initial cast of 1.25 seconds. That's going down to 0.75 seconds now. So pretty nice. Again, the tier 8 bonus has changed, just like it did for Telekinetic Strike. Same change. And so maybe it will be viable. It still does a lot less damage than Telekinetic Strike, and so other than PvP, in World PvP, I probably still will not use it in PvE environments ever. So, just my personal opinion. Also, they talk about or hint at some changes to allow us Espers to, who still like that old style of sitting still. They are bringing a new amp into play. I'm not sure, and I can't find it right now. That will increase our assault power by standing still. Again, that might change a little bit, but again, it's not that bad. I think that would be a good thing. Like, I want to be rewarded for moving on the telegraphs and not dying, but at the same time, I still like the old style. It made the class hard. It made it difficult. The only issue that I see, and I'm sure a lot of the other Espers can vouch for this with me, is that for everything that we had to do, all the planning that we had to do in encounters, to make sure that we could stay stationary, we didn't feel that all that effort was translating into good DPS. Okay, and so I feel now, I sort of feel like they're seeing this finally, and changing it. Is the Esper broken? No. I think it's still a very valuable class that can bring a lot to the table. And a lot of the people who, used to play Espers and re-rolled to engineers and whatnot might come back. My concern is that I worry about, people still not learning how to play the class optimally. Okay? And because that's kind of where all this stuff came from, was people were still trying to play the class without actually learning fights. So they couldn't do optimal DPS, and then everybody's in the group like, oh god, you suck. No, we don't. Yeah, you do. So it's kind of like, we felt like we were bringing down groups. And people who liked that playstyle of ranged, sort of a magey class, who could throw blades and conjure stuff, they felt like the class just wasn't worth playing anymore. And left and re-rolled or whatever the issue may be. I personally, am in that category because, like I stated earlier, why would I go through all the trouble of trying to do optimal DPS when my heals are perfectly fine and very useful to the group? And a Spellslinger and any other class can do a lot better DPS than me. So hopefully, we'll see. I'm hoping that a lot of these changes will sort of remedy that problem, and a lot of the fellow Espers, in Wildstar, to be able to not only just bring healing to the table, but bring damage, as well. So I think that pretty much covered everything I wanted to talk about, and I again talked far too much. I appreciate everyone who popped in to the stream and took the time. I hope I didn't bore you to death. Again, I missed a lot of the patch notes yesterday, and for the life of me, I can't find them. But I at least covered what happened today. Okay, and all these patch notes can be found on the forums in Wildstar. So if you got a minute, take a look at them, because there are some good changes coming. A lot of bug fixes that came about. So yeah, yeah. I think that's going to do it for the stream. If you like what you saw, follow me on Twitch. Big Dog LB is the name. And you'll be alerted when I produce more videos. Also, if you are a YouTube user and you're watching this, of course I haven't published it yet, but I will soon. Hit that like button. Give me some feedback. What are your thoughts on the patch notes? What are your thoughts on the current state of the game? Where can Carbine improve? And where can I improve with these videos? So, anyway, I do want to give a shout out to Guild Umbra. I'm really still enjoying the guild a lot, and I thank all the leadership for the effort that they put in. So I want to give them a shout out. Anrez, I love you, dude. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep crafting. Keep it up, man. Doing a hell of a job. Also, anyone who's interested in playing Wildstar, if you haven't played it already, and you want to get into a pretty cool guild, laid back, full of guys like me and others who are kind of chill and just want to play the game and have fun, check out guildomber.com. There's a link in the upper right hand corner, not upper right, on the right side, we'll say, to apply. And go ahead and, if you're interested, apply, and one of our recruiters will get down to you. I've recently started doing a little recruiting myself, which is really difficult for me because I don't like to talk. I know that comes as a surprise for some of the viewers. But anyway, this is Luke from Guild Umbra signing off. You guys have a good night.